Hey guys, what's up? Nee here, and today I want to talk about what it's like being an active dad to little girls. In my case, it's two adorable little girls, and running your own company and running a startup. We're going to talk about today some of the aspects that I feel are worth mentioning. What's it like on the day-to-day? A few tips on how to improve your daily habits with your family that I think would be very helpful, and just overall, my opinion about it. And there's kind of like this misconception that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be single, you have to be young, you have to be 20 years old with no obligations. I think that's not true. I think you can be very successful at any age, and I'm going to share with you some of my views on why I think that being a dad even improves my chances. So let's dive right into this topic right now. So when I say being an active dad, I mean just by that, right? Being active, being there for your kids, being present, letting your kids know you're there for them. You're not like a missing link in the family that no one ever sees. They know you hear their stories, you take them from kindergarten, you pick them up from school, you do activities after school, you get involved. That is for me being an active dad, and that is what I'm going to talk about today. The second thing I want to say about being an active dad while running a company is that, the word active gets thrown a lot, and there are levels of being active as a mom or as a dad. And being an active dad for me doesn't really necessarily mean the same for you or for anyone else for that matter. So when I say being an active dad, I'm talking about, being there for your kids. I mean, I work a lot. Honestly, I work a lot of hours during the day, but I have a flexible schedule that allows me to be with my daughters when I need to be or when I want to be. So if that's waking up in the morning with them, seeing them when they go to bed most days, have some time for play dates, have some time for just snoozing or whatever. When I say being an active dad, it's just being a present dad, a dad that has a schedule that allows him to be there when it matters, right? You don't have to be there all the time. There's two parents in a family. It doesn't matter, sometimes the mom takes over, sometimes the dad. From my personal experience, ever since my firstborn daughter, Bar, was born, I can honestly say that my life improved in any way possible. My business improved, me, myself as a person improved, and a byproduct of that, my company grew. My heart expanded. I got very creative. Some people, when you put them on a spot, they grow, they get creative. Some people just fall under the pressure. I think entrepreneurs are good on their feet, and when you pressure them, most of the time they will get creative and figure things out. This is what happened to me with my daughters. When my first daughter was born, I instantly thought about, all right, this is going to take a lot of my free time, a lot of my time in the office, a lot of my time doing the work that I need to do. I need to get creative about how am I going to get enough done so I can, grow the business but still be an active dad. And I think I've done a decent job so far. I mean, ask my wife, maybe she'll tell you something different, but I'm just kidding. But I think I'm doing a decent job so far. So the first thing I want to say about entrepreneurship and being a dad, it doesn't matter how many kids you have, right? So the first thing I want to say is that you don't have to be young, all right? People think that if you never made it in your 20s, or if you never started that company that you always dreamed of in your 20s, it's too late. It's over for you. Well, I think that's a bunch of bull. I think in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, even in your 60s, as long as you're healthy and your mind is sharp, I think You can start a business if you know how to get things done, if you know the steps. I mean, age is only a number, right? So let's just get that out of the way right away and continue with the video with the assumptions that you don't have to be young to start a business. I will even say more, that there are big advantages to being a little bit more mature and a little bit more with a work experience, right? If you're a kid who's 20 years old and you never done anything in your life, and you're 30 or 37 like me, and I've done a couple of things in my life, I have experience, I failed, I had mild successes, I failed, I have a big success right now. I think I'm in a much better position than the young kid who's just starting out. That's my personal opinion, but I think it's a valid point. Alright, so after understanding what being an active dad is while running a company and what it isn't, and understanding that for each person it may be a different thing, and after understanding kind of like the basics of what I want to talk about in this video, let's get into more specific. Let's dive right into, if you will, to more specific tips and my thoughts on the subject. And let's start with communication. So communication is very important as a business owner. Communication is very important as an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs know this. I'm not going to go into more details about why communication is key to run a company, to run a successful company, because this video is talking about being an active dad while running your company. So I'm going to talk about that part. And when I say communication is key, I mean communication with your family, right? With your partner, with your kids. You need everyone on the same page, and to reach a good level of understanding. If your kids are small, then you need to reach a good level of communication with your partner. If your kids are older, then you need them on board as well. But communication, it's where it's all at. So everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to be synced. If you need to pick your daughters, if I need to pick my daughters from school, if I need to drive them to after school activities, if I need to take them to the doctor, if something comes up and I gotta leave work early, or my wife needs to leave work early, all these things need to be communicated. And what me and my wife do is that each week, at the beginning of the week, we sit down together and we go through our schedules and we decide, all right, on this day I'm gonna do a shorter day, or I'm gonna go out in the middle of the day to take my kid to the doctor's appointment, or on that day my wife is going to leave her job early in order to pick up the kids. So we talk about it, we dedicate it. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes of good conversation, going through your schedules and seeing on what days she could do it and what days you could do it, and just plan ahead, right? It's just about planning ahead, like many things in life. So once you have that figured out, that's the base thing figured out, obviously you're going to have random things that happen during your week that will prevent you from maybe doing something. So you gotta have a good partner that will back you up, and you should also back up your partner. But communication, when you have good communication, these things won't blindside you. You can work around that. And as a business owner, most of the time your schedule is flexible. If your wife, or it's the other way around, doesn't matter. But if one of you have a 9-to-5 job and the other one is a business owner, so the business owner usually have more flexibility during the day and can work with that schedule, but communication is probably the most important thing to note, that without it some things will get mishandled, and when you're talking about your family, your kids, you don't want that. So for me personally, when my first daughter was born, I discovered that I had the ability to do more with the same amount of time that I had left, right? So everyone has 24 hours during the day. What you do with those 24 hours, that is what's going to happen. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. As long as you build your time around everything, you can get things done. You would be surprised what you can accomplish in 1 to 2 or 3 hours of work when you know your schedule is tight. You'd be surprised. Those are the things that I never thought about before I became a parent. I thought like I have all day, and oh no, when I'm going to have kids, I'm going to lose a few hours every day. That's just not true. You elevate your performance, you elevate your work, and you optimize it, and you become much more efficient. When we're talking about being active, an active parent in general, and not just as a business owner, quality time matters. And that's the next thing I want to dive right into, is that the type of activity that you do with your kids is less important than the quality. And what I mean by that is that, everybody can work around birthdays and special occasions, graduations or whatnot, because usually you have a lot of time in advance to prepare. And also it's a very important thing or day or occasion, to attend. But I'm talking about the day-to-day, the little things that I think are more important than those events. And let me explain. So you need to give your full attention to your child when you spend time with them. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, not at all. We all have those moments when we sit with our kids and we're just on our phones and we don't give them 100% of our attention. So that's why I started with quality time matters. So the activity doesn't really matter. What I usually do is that, and my partner, my wife does the same thing, is that we try to set a few hours every other day or every week, depending on our schedules, that we can spend time alone with 1 or 2 of our daughters and just do whatever. And the reason for that is that we want to be with them and listen to them and talk to them and ask them questions and have a conversation or just laugh and do whatever without any distractions. And trust me when I say, and I'm sure a lot of parents will agree, that those little moments, those little days and activities that seem mundane and not like, what's the big deal, those are the things that kids remember. Those are the things that you remember as a parent. Those little things that you didn't plan ahead, and those little experiences that you never planned or thought about in advance. You just give your full attention, and you have fun. It's your kids. You want to have fun with them. You don't want to plan everything out. It's not work. It's supposed to be fun, right? So a few ideas about, quality time you can spend with your kids that are not birthdays or stuff like that. It's just the little simple things of the day, right? Wake up and prepare them for school, walk them to school. Maybe instead of driving in the car, take a 10 to 15, 20 minutes walk and just talk about life or whatever. Pick them up from school, and instead of driving straight to work or to after school activities, go get some ice cream, right? Go get some ice cream and talk. There's a lot of things that you can do that are not expensive, that are not some things that you need to plan ahead, that will be an awesome experience for you and your kid that we will both remember. Well, I know most entrepreneurs think that they can do anything and everything The reality is that you can't do everything yourself. You need help, and usually that means to delegate. If you have the budget for it, if you have the funds for it, hiring someone to help you with day-to-day things can mean more time with your kids, which is what we all want, to spend more time with family. As a business owner, you know delegating is important, right? You can't scale your business without delegating. So entrepreneurs and business owners understand that you have to delegate certain tasks to grow. It's the same thing with your family when being an entrepreneur or a business owner and very busy during the day, but still want to be active. If you want to get more done, you need to delegate. Simple as that. So another tip I want to talk about, and this is for the more seasoned entrepreneurs and business owners, the one that are not really just starting out, but those, who have reached a certain level of success, that have some sort of stability in their business and income. And what I want to say is that you can delegate a lot of the stuff that you need to get done around the house, and therefore free up your time to spend with your kids and be more active. For example, we have a cook, right? It's not a private chef, it's a cook. It's someone that comes to our house once or twice a week and prepares food for us for the next couple of days. It saves time for me and it saves time for my wife to prepare food. It's very time consuming to cook food, to do the groceries and stuff like that. So this way it frees up, I think, at least a couple of hours every week from me or from my wife to spend more time with my kids. This is just one example. Obviously, you can delegate more depending on your budget and depending on the style of your life, right? Cleaning the house, right? Some people get a cleaning lady, a cleaning person to come by once or twice a week to clean their homes. Saves up time to spend more time with your kids. When you have a supporting wife, a supporting partner that gets what you're trying to build, that gets that you're trying to grow your company and establish yourself in the business world, you both understand that responsibilities should be shared. It's not a solo thing. Just because you're the entrepreneur and your partner is a 9-to-5 employee doesn't mean that she or he needs to do everything himself or herself. You gotta share responsibilities. Being active means sometimes you gotta cut off work in order to help your significant others. Most entrepreneurs will tell you that you have to be flexible in order to succeed building a company or growing your business. I think it's the same thing with your family life. You have to be flexible. If you're not flexible with your schedule, if you're not flexible with what parts of your kid's life do you want to spend time with, it's going to be very difficult for you, because let's say your schedule doesn't allow you to go home every evening and spend some time with your kids before they go to bed. Some business owners work mostly in the evenings during the night, so not everyone can do that. But you need to be flexible and understand that while you can't spend time with them during the evenings, maybe you can carve more time during the day or during the mornings and on weekends or stuff like that. And it doesn't really matter at what time of day you spend time with your kids, as long as you're being active and you do it. At the end of the day, you got to remember why we work so hard, right? We want to provide for our families. Sure, we have business goals. We want to dominate our niche on our sectors, and we want to grow our company to be the next Google or whatever. But at the end of the day, what really matters is family, how much time you spend with your kids, with your wife, the memories that you create, so down the line you can remember what kind of life you lived. So it's very important to remember why we work so hard and put things in perspective, right? Family matters. Family is all. Family is everything. And you should always try to keep this in mind while you try to juggle the business life and the family life. It really helps you. It really grounds you. It really puts things in perspective when you remember, or you need to remind yourself that, family is everything, and you can always complete that task a few hours later or another day. You can't always spend time with your family.